Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco. This is their part number 863P is what it is. It's a cam. Kaba Ilco calls this a Segal or Emhart cam, and this is going to be used on particular applications that would be known as Segal or Emhart that require this specific shape of cam. So this video is going to serve mostly in terms of having any benefit in that it will provide dimensional properties of the item. There is another Kaba Ilco cam that looks not unlike this. The distinguishing characteristic is the length of the cam, but before we get to that, let's take all of the dimensions. The width of the cam itself, 0.173 wide. The other dimension, and the one that they give us, is 0.761 from the center of the hole, the mounting hole, to the end of the tip, and it's just heavy on 3/4 inch. The other cam that's there is just light on 3/4 inch. So this would be the 863P. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at what supporting information we have on this. Okay, here is the cam. Some line art drawing here. Let's take a look at the images that we have. There's a photo of it. Your two very small screws that will hold it onto the back of the mortise cylinder are here. The back of the cylinder plug resides in this area. Just another view of it. And then yet again, there is a table below the video here showing all of the cams that there are for conventional cylinders from Kaba Ilco, meaning non-interchangeable core. They have a different set of cams for interchangeable core. So they're going to have a standard cam, that's the 863G, and that's how their part numbers go. The 863A is probably the most common. That's for typical Adams Rite, although there's more than one cam for Adams Rite applications. 863G is called the standard cam. Some people call it a Yale cam. That's a reference to Yale mortise locks that would have been made 100 years ago. They would take a standard cam that you see here. Standard cam would be there. And you can see from this table all of the different cams that are available. And you'll note I had mentioned the other cam that looked a little bit like our Segal Emhart, which is our 863P. That'd be the 863N. It looks very similar, but again, that's just slightly below 3/4 inch. Yep. And what's handy about that is this table, I should say, is it shows you all those cams. The common ones for me, I don't use a fantail cam, a lorry cam, except when I'm doing a 4500 series Kaba Ilco deadbolt. The 863A is most common. The G, you'll find that laying around for sure. Schlage L cam, if you do Kaba Ilco mortise cylinders with Schlage, most Schlage mortise lock functions. The Corbin Russwin cloverleaf, very common. If you're doing lock sets by Accurate or any other manufacturer that takes a Corbin Russwin cloverleaf style, the 863S would be there. I noted earlier that Adams Rite has more than one cam. Here's a second one. I believe there's 3 total that are used in their deployment, but the 863A is most common. Let's take a look at the link to the manufacturer's page here, and that would be important because we can show you the other cams for the interchangeable core. This is a very old price list, but the more modern price lists do not show any of these line art images. Of course, I don't remember where the cams are. Alright, here we go. So, that was on about page 16. Okay, so getting up to here, there's a table from the old catalog showing their different cams, and then the interchangeable core material is right here. Not as many, but same types of applications, except that because these are going to be small format, is actually what they are. They have to move those screws in a different location to get well away from your control lug, is why that's moved around like that. To move those screws for the construction of that. Now, I don't believe I've had an opportunity to need an 863P, and it's certainly because when you're doing a mortise cylinder application with a cam, you're just selecting the cam that's appropriate for the application. So if you've got, if you want to experiment with that, put an 863A cam on the back of a cylinder and thread that into an Adams Wright application. You'll see that it works really well. Swap that out for an 863G, and you'll say, oh boy, that kind of turns it back, but doesn't work at all. And really the only way that you can end up making these things work is by manipulating or modifying this. I've had to take other cams and grind them down and make them work, and yeah, sure, you can do that, but you just want the right cam. And this would be what Kaba Ilco calls for Segal Emhart. Emhart was a company that owned Corbin Russwin, I think, in the 1970s. Segal goes back to the 19-teens. A New York City detective invented the Segal surface-mounted rim lock that we all are probably fairly familiar with. That wouldn't take a mortise cylinder, except that actually it would. If you have a double cylinder application, there would definitely be a mortise cylinder inside of the housing with a cam. I can't tell you that it was this cam, although it could have been. Those are generally not serviceable, at least the modern ones that I was familiar with. They're not made to be disassembled, even though I've done it, and swapped out that cylinder, in fact, for a high security cylinder. Any questions on the 863P or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.